Hey guys, I'm back again. I thought I'd take you on a walk through a place I love. Kind of gets me away from, the neighborhood, but it's right here just across the road. And it does seem natural. I could show you how maybe it isn't quite natural, isn't quite nature, and maybe the importance of planting biodiverse gardens and bio-rich gardens on your property. So like I said, it looks like nature's all around me here. From the birds at my feeder in the morning, and the trees in the yard, and the trees at the park, and you see squirrels running around, and rabbits are everywhere. Here we have a lot of raccoons. I think we're all used to seeing nature every day, or we think we're used to seeing nature every day, because we're not accustomed to what nature actually is. Right around me here, this is all introduced grasses, and for about 20 years it's been an open old field, but before that it was a baseball diamond, and before that it was a farm field, and before that it was prairie. So it's not really been nature for about 150 years. So 150 years, guys. So what was it before? It was about starting maybe a kilometer that direction, straight behind me here, extending for something like 500 square kilometers. It was one of 3 large prairies in Wisconsin. What's a prairie? How is that natural? How is this not natural? All of it has to do with the types of grasses and flowers that were growing there. And that's just knowledge and landscape and beauty. A lot of beauty that's been lost, but hopefully making a comeback. At over beyond these trees over here, I started a little patch of prairie about 2 years ago or so, and it's actually doing really well. Been maintaining it, and I think it's about to pop this year. And right over here, that's a new apartment complex. And this field can't be used anything. This is the only field they see. So I thought, I'm working on that prairie patch, I'll work on this prairie patch. These people will get to see some of that beauty that's been lost. Just how drastically different this old field was from what used to be right here, and how expansive that prairie was. So like I said, a lot of these are introduced plants, grasses, almost no flowers. Those plants aren't useful to the bugs and birds and insects that were accustomed to living around here before we came. Our asphalt on the ground, our concrete, our yards, it's all just kind of like a desert, except for my yard where I'm growing these native plants. It serves to attract those animals, and some people might not like that. Why would you want to do that? Why would you at all want to attract more animals, bugs, insects to your property? I'd say a lot of people I talk to on the subject think that is a poor choice, bad idea. There's no use in it for them. But it's not necessarily about attracting those animals as much as it's about providing a base, a safety net that's just that no longer exists for them. I'd say most of this is introduced plants, introduced trees. A lot of it is going to be structural, maybe for birds, right? There's places for nesting, but it's not providing the food necessarily that they need. Yeah, so there's no spring ephemerals. There's no real intact ecosystem here. Certainly the ground has no ground cover that you'd see in an old standing woodland. So those animals that we think are getting what they need right here, like that this would be an ideal location for them, they're not getting it here. The disrupted soil starts attracting mostly plants that find good advantage in overtaking really quickly, and most of those are of little use to animals around here. So it's just taking up the ecological space. It's marginally useful. It could be doing more as a natural space for animals around us. Just a little strip of introduced woods, and then it just ends in this massive patch of lawn, which is fine as long as we're keeping other places ecologically bountiful or ecologically useful. Howdy. Not bad. Pretty dogs.
Have a good one.
Yeah, you too. See? I love it here. I do need to get it over here, and cut that down. That's why I said I'm not bashing on places like this, but I'm recognizing myself how I used to think this was a totally natural location, and how I'm discovering it's exactly the opposite, in that we took away what was here, and our actions have led to things that weren't here being added. So that's why I'm taking this opportunity. I'm taking this opportunity to learn about what used to grow in the area, why it used to grow in the area, why it doesn't grow here anymore. All in effort to help try and bring them back, at least on my property. And that makes me happy. The opportunity that I'm taking, is to remake and renew at least that one patch of ground. And then in that, I'm discovering just how valuable, or maybe I'll say invaluable, those plants were. Between the time I had no native plants in the yard and the time that I now have a yard filling up with native plants, a lot more bees, a lot more butterflies, and I think that's speaking for itself. I'm harboring some of these animals. You can take up the argument whether or not it's important to be saving those things, whether they're useful to us or not, whether life would change for us or not. I can tell you from experience these last 2 seasons in my yard that there was a lot more life here, a lot more biodiversity. So we're taking these opportunities, and I hope you do with me, to see differently, the landscape around us. See it more as a historical landscape and a natural landscape than a built one. Changing things or restoring things to a more natural state might not be part of your belief set, might not be something that you think we should do collectively. And maybe you think that things don't need to change, that things aren't bad, like I do. Or maybe I've talked with some people who think we could make a change, but that we shouldn't. But I think that it would be good for us all to recognize the extent to which we've wholly changed the landscape around us, and that we live in a built environment now and nowhere at all a natural one. I think that would be good for us. Even though a place like this, I'm doing what I can to keep it up. I mean, for me, it means a lot just to have this pathway, do what we can to, keep these places around for our enjoyment. I don't disagree with that. We need that. But I think we also need to do what little we can on our private properties, restore some of what used to be here. Nature used to be a pretty scary place. We had to try and keep safe from, right? But we don't struggle from those dangers anymore, from the fears and dangers of the environment around us, the world around us, because we've done such a good job cordoning ourselves off from nature, kind of pushing it out, mitigating it, marginalizing it. But we've done it to such an extent, the future of nature is on private property, and we're gonna have to start rethinking. I think we have this great opportunity to start rethinking how it is that we remember and manage our landscape. We've got this awesome opportunity that brings me a lot of joy, can bring a lot of people a lot of joy, I think. So we live in a built environment, but we've got an opportunity to discover like the wilderness, the wilderness of nature, and reframe our understanding and build some pretty amazing biodense gardens and bio-rich gardens and restore that biodiversity. And it's a great time to do it. It's a great time to do it. So thanks again for listening, especially if you don't, if you feel like you don't have to share the same views I do. I really appreciate you listening. So, thanks guys. Bye.